you guys, how are you all? I hope you all are having a splendid Wednesday. I like to say Wednesday. Wednesday. I don't know when this video is going to go up. But hi you guys. I hope you are having a splendid day, regardless of what day of the week it is. And if it is Monday, my sympathies. So we are going to talk about something very quirky today, something that I don't really talk a lot about on this channel, which is relationships, and no other relationships but romantic relationships. I feel like romance can be a little bit like a contagious and a controversial topic, and sometimes when I would like to discuss it to great lengths. But what happens is that I live in Indian society, all right, and once I start talking about romance, you feel like, oh, you tell something about from your own story, from your own life, and I'm not here to talk about my romantic life. This is where I draw the line, and this is where I don't want to be upfront and personal. So I'm like, whether should I do this video or not, because I have been thinking about doing this video for quite some time. But I'm like, ठीक है, अभी कर देते हैं. So I will not divulge any personal details, but this is my take on romantic relationships, and specifically red flags that you should not ignore in a romantic relationships. So this is going to be a two-parter series, okay? अभी hesitation हट गया है तो मैं तो बात करूंगी बहुत सारी. तो अभी मैं बात कर रही हूँ red flags in relationships, and कल मैं बात करूंगी green flags in relationship का. So they will be released, these two videos will be released on consecutive days, and I hope you really like it, because I feel like sometimes we do ignore red flags, yes, but we sometimes also ignore green flags, and we should not do that. So let's start, and let's talk about red flags, or like signals that universe is sending us, that person's character, that your relationship is sending you to your brain, to your heart, to your gut, to tell you to get out of that situation. But we don't listen to that. We feel like no, we have to keep going, we keep ignoring it, sometimes due to lack of wisdom, and sometimes we don't even understand, and we don't even comprehend कि हमें कौन से red flags को देखना है और कौन से रेड फ्लैग्स को इग्नोर करना है. तो हम इसी के बारे में आज बात करने वाले हैं. बट बिफोर वी स्टार्ट डूइंग दैट, गो लाइक एंड शेयर दिस वीडियो and subscribe to my channel if you like what I do here. We have gotten this long intro out of the way. Now, let's talk about all the possible important red flags that you should never ever ignore in a relationship. Before we go, and before I start listing down all these red flags, let me tell you that there are two types of red flags in general, like two categories of red flags. First is if the relationship is not right for both of you. You know, sometimes people are really great in their individually, and they can be really great with somebody else, but sometimes two people are not meant to be together as a couple, as a pair, and it does not reflect on their own individual characters or traits, okay? Some things are just not meant to be. You can't be with every single person on this planet. There's a thing called compatibility. So some red flags are because of lack of compatibility and chemistry, and other red flags are because that person is toxic, that person is bad for you, period. And it's not about your compatibility. It has nothing to do with you and your relationship. Just you should just stay the hell away from that person. All right, when we have gotten that out of the way, let's start listing down all the red flags that you should run away from in your relationship. Number one, you feel like every single time you guys get together to talk about things, or like very, very, very often, you guys tend to fight. Almost all conversations lead to fights, and honestly, romantic relationships are supposed to make you happy, all right? That's the bottom line. That's why we get into dating and marriage, or whatever relationship that you might be in. You shouldn't feel like, अरे अब मैं बात करने बैठूंगी तो कोई झगड़ा हो जाएगा. And I understand sometimes couples are genuinely, like, naturally going through a rough phase of life. Maybe they have lost something, maybe they are going through a financial loss, maybe they are recovering through a tough phase in their relationship per se, maybe long distance, something like that. And if it's happening because of a certain phase or because of a certain situation, that's another thing. But if the entire nature of your relationship is कि आप बात करने बैठते हैं और झगड़े होने लगते हैं, and you fight like very, very, very often, that's not a good sign. And I understand people say, oh, they're fighting, that's so cute. They don't keep anything bottled up. They argue about things, they discuss things. There's a difference between arguing and discussing. There's a difference between being hostile because that's your second nature, and just a discussion every now and then getting heated. You do not have to be in a relationship which leads to very, very frequent fights, period. Number second, your significant other plays hot and cold and loves to do that, in fact. What do I mean by this? Okay. Sometimes when the things are going good, when you are in love, when maybe your honeymoon phase is going on, or maybe you are on a trip, maybe something good has happened, the good times are so good that you feel addicted to them, and you feel like you have never been so happy, you have never been so cheerful, you have never felt so complete and satisfied, except when the good times are going on. So you get addicted, but as soon as you get addicted, they start playing cold. That means they start avoiding you, they start ignoring you. You feel like you're dating suddenly like a different person altogether in that cold phase. And because you're addicted to that good phase, you want to go back to them, and you want to ask them, what has happened, let's figure it out and stuff like that. And that kabhi naram kabhi garam scenario, kabhi naram kabhi garam tendency is not good. Rather, it's toxic. People who actually love you and people who actually care for you shouldn't they don't do these things. They care for you throughout. हाँ, अगर कभी कोई झगड़ा हो गया, if you guys have a difficult conversation, if there was a genuine fight, then that's okay. But it shouldn't be कि आप रूठ हो मना ही रहे हो. मुझे पता है बॉलीवुड में इतने गाने हैं कि कोई रूठ गया, कोई दूसरा मना रहा है, और उस चीज को, इस पूरे सिनारियो को काफी रोमांटिसाइज कर दिया गया है. But it's actually quite toxic if your entire relationship is just based on रूठना and मनाना. Get out of that. किसी के सामने affection की भीख मांगने की जरूरत नहीं है. Please have more self-respect than that. Get out of this as soon as you can, okay? Number 3. You feel like in your gut, even if you don't say that to that person or to anyone out loud, or even if you have not said that to yourself out loud, you feel like you cannot take that person on their word. गट एक बहुत ही अच्छी चीज होती है, और बहुत ही कहना चाहिए मैजिकल चीज होती है. Sometimes in your gut you have this intuition that this person is telling me things, however I cannot trust him. And you find yourself, you catch yourself reading between the lines, even when they might be telling the truth. ये डिपेंड करता है कि आप ऐसा क्यों फील कर रहे हैं. Maybe that person is making you feel that way. Maybe that person has cheated or lied in the past, that's why. Or maybe you are in that mental space where you are not able to trust people completely, and you have like inherent trust issues. I feel like this is a huge red flag in a relationship, because if the other person is making you feel that way, then of course it's a red flag. But even if you are in a mental headspace where you can't trust, get out of that relationship, because if you can't trust, you cannot love. Either work on it, and if you feel like getting therapy, getting help, having some pep talk, having a very honest and open and upfront conversation with your significant other can solve that situation, then okay, maybe be in that relationship. But if you feel like it's not them, it's you, and your trust issues are too major, I don't think this is a great time for you to be in a relationship in your life at that point of time. Because as I said, if you can't trust, you can't love. So I feel like your significant other, you should be able to trust them. You should be able to take them on their word. Listen, I am a lawyer. I understand law requires evidence, law requires substantialization. But I don't want my personal relationships to be like that. It's too much hard work. I don't even make friends जिसमें मुझे लगता है कि अगर वो हर बार एक्सक्यूज बना रहे हैं, if I find myself reading between the lines a lot in their scenario whenever I'm having even a casual conversation with them. So forget about having a romantic and serious relationship with a person like that. It's just too much work, and I don't want my personal relationships to always require evidence and myself to play jagga jasoos always. So that's a major red flag. Stay away from that kind of scenario. Number 4, if you feel like they are being rude to people who cannot do absolutely anything for them. See, if you are their significant other, they are getting a relationship out of you, so they will be very nice to you. If they want to continue that relationship, they will be nice to people who matter to you, to be in your good books or in their good books. लोगों के good books में रहने के लिए people always behave, people are always on their best behavior. However, I think the determination of a character depends on how that person behaves with people who are not beneficial to them. Notice them when you are in a restaurant. Just notice them when you are in a mall. Just notice them with Uber drivers. How does this person address them? How does this person talk to them about tips and payment and stuff like that, when that person is placing an order, when that person is trying to talk to the Uber or Ola person to come to a particular destination, how that person is dealing with beggars. I think those things are like indications of character that you should not miss. That person is unnecessarily rude to these things, these people, I feel like it will genuinely show a lack of compassion on that person's part. And I don't think any relationship is successful or healthy where there is a person who lacks genuine compassion. So it's a major red flag, according to me. Number 5. I think a major red flag is, and which has nothing to do with both people, when the timing is off. And it's a very sad, very unfortunate one. And now you can do nothing about it. But sometimes timing is off. It usually happens when there is a huge age difference. I'll give you a very beautiful example. If you are a Friends fan, Monica and Richard, they are in love. And some people would argue that Richard was Monica's soulmate rather than Chandler. However, because Richard was in his 70s, he was 21 years older than Monica. And Monica was, about to start her life. They wanted different things in life. They have experienced, different things. It's not like Richard didn't want children, but there is a dialogue in Friends where Richard says, I love children. I have children. He has already gone through that phase of life. It's a different thing that now he has fallen in love with Monica. So no matter how perfect they are with each other, because they are in such different points in their life, they just can't work together. And even if they try to do that, it would be a compromise for either of them. And one another example would be Robin and Ted in How I Met Your Mother. They didn't work out throughout the entire series because Robin didn't want kids, and Ted wanted them, and Ted wanted to live that life, When he looked at his 30s and 40s, he wanted that to be, he wanted to have this quiet little family with kids and with, very conventional lifestyle. Whereas Robin wanted to spend her 20s, 30s, 40s building a career, building a image, making something out of herself. They only were able to work at the end of it because Ted has already had his kids. Ted has already lived his life like that. And Robin has already built that foundation of a career. So now Ted would not want kids with Robin. And now Robin would not be compromising her vital years and, her building blocks of her career to be with Ted. They know each other and they have lived that kind of life. And hence now the timing is perfect. So sometimes you would be absolutely in love with each other. You would be completely right for each other. But if the timing is wrong, it's quite unfortunate. But don't be with someone whose timing is so off that you feel like the only way you can be with that person is to compromise on the things that you really want or you really don't want. So number 6, and it's sort of tied with the timing thing. If priorities of both people are quite different, it's a major red flag. For example, you want kids, they don't want kids. And it has nothing to do with timing. They just don't want kids, and you want kids. They want to live in India. You want to live somewhere outside India. You want to live with your parents in the long run. They don't want to live with their parents in the long run. You want marriage. They don't want marriage. Stuff like that. You want like one kid. They want like 7. So these kind of things are very important to be discussed. And these things determine the longevity of relationship and the longevity of your happiness and your future. So you need to just speak with them, just sit down and have these difficult and awkward conversations and figure out what future you both contemplate for you guys together. If that future looks very different for each one of you, I think that's a major red flag. Because as I said earlier, even if after figuring out that priorities are extremely polar apart, if you still decide to be with this person, no matter how great they are and no matter how happy they make you, प्यार सब कुछ नहीं होता है. You will always find yourself compromising. You will always find yourself fighting for your self respect and weighing कि तुम्हारी self respect और तुम्हारी बाकी requirements ज़्यादा important है या the fact that you want to live with them is more important. And you will always be faced with these difficult decisions every single step of the way. So yeah. Number 7. If both people's opinions are too polarizing. लोग कहते हैं ना कि it doesn't matter if you are in love, then political and religious opinions don't matter. We should have a tolerance for other people's political and religious opinions. Get it? But what if they're too polarizing that there is no middle ground? You feel like there is no middle ground. This person is not trying to find a middle ground. And actually, you guys are taking positions that are so different that there actually practically cannot be a middle ground without either of you changing your opinion. Now, we are all adults, right? We have formed those opinions on the basis of something, on the basis of our upbringing, our exposure, our education, our company, and all of that. So, it's very, very, very difficult when you're going to get married in your pursue a relationship in your 20s or 30s, especially late 20s. It's hard for an individual to change opinions just for the sake of a relationship. And it's also not advisable to do that. Why would you change yourself just because you want to be with someone else? And you will never be happy and you will never be contented if the other person's opinions are too in contrast with yours. Example, अभी आपको लग रहा होगा क्या है, अगर कोई दूसरी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी को सपोर्ट करता है तो ठीक है, मैं रह लूंगी उनके साथ. कोई दूसरे रिलीजन का है तो मैं रह लूंगी उसके साथ. आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट दीज थिंग्स, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट थिंग्स वेयर देयर इज नो मिडल ग्राउंड. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, you belong to a religion and that person hates that particular religion. Will you just tell me practically, honestly, get out of that high horse of dreams and love and whatever that is? Will you be able to live with a person who hates your religion? And if you are deeply religious, and even if you are not, a religion जिसके हिसाब से आपके घर में रोज पूजा या नमाज या worship, that's your mode of worship. A religion that your parents follow, a religion that you would like your kids to follow. If that person hates your religion and you guys end up having kids, first of all, he would always have a problem with you following that religion. And second, when you'll have kids, he will not allow those kids to practice the same religion as you do, even if that's the point of view that you would want to go with. कोई middle ground ही नहीं. So it's a major red flag if you guys have polarizing religious and political opinions. Number 8, and I think point 7 became a little too heavy, so I'll just make it lighter a little bit. Point number 8, if you feel like you are always on your best behavior around them. आपको लगता है कि आपको हर चीज पॉलिश करनी पड़ रही है. आप कुछ बोलने से पहले थोड़ा सोचते हैं कि मैं ये ड्रेस पहनूं, कि ये he's coming over, she's coming over, oh let me not be in sweatpants, and oh my god, I have not brushed my hair, he can't see me like that. Even after years of relationship, I know that there are people who do that. Like in Bridesmaids, if you have seen Bridesmaids, if you have not seen Bridesmaids, come on, don't kid with me. क्रिसमस सीजन आ रहा है, हॉलीडे सीजन आ रहा है, प्लीज बैठ के ब्राइड्समेड्स देखिए और बहुत हंसिए. एंड इट्स रेकमेंडेड दैट यू सी इट विद योर फ्रेंड्स, ऑलराइट? Apart from my adoration and ardent love for Bridesmaid, the point that I was trying to make is the first scene of Bridesmaids there, Kristen Wiig is actually sleeping with next to her boyfriend, and she gets up and she touches up her eyelashes and her clothes and her hair. She brushes her hair, she brushes her teeth, and she puts on a little lip gloss, and she puts on a little like mascara and stuff like that. And she comes back and like sleeps next to him. And when he wakes up, he's like, oh my god, you're so beautiful. And she pretends like she's just waking up. If you find yourself in that situation, run. Real life is messy. You know you are messy. Your unpolished version is not what that person signed up for. The marriage is going to be when you're going to be sad and frustrated and sick, and you will feel helpless, and you'll have small babies, and you'll have a lot of work, and you'll feel messy. You will feel that you will not feel like having shower, and you will feel depressed and anxious. And I'm not saying all of these things will happen to the same person, but there's a possibility of all of those things happening. And you would like to be with a person who is ready to see you in those forms and accept with all his heart all those forms of you. Not if that person only loves a version of you that has lipstick and mascara and blush on, and who has like straight, perfect, blow-dried hair. that person doesn't love you, because that person hasn't even seen you. That person only loves a polished, decked up version of you. And that's not love, my friend. That's infatuation. That's quite surface level. And I think you deserve so much better than that. Number nine, if you feel like your conversations are not free flowing. As I said, like my first point is कि हर conversation अगर लड़ाई बन जाती है तो वो बात ही अलग है. But अगर आपकी लड़ाई भी नहीं हो रही है पर आपको ऐसा लगता है कि conversation बड़ा forced है इसके साथ. कभी कभी होता है, कभी कभी आप किसी को ऑफिस में स्कूल में भी मिलते हो, यू फील लाइक इसके साथ बात करनी कितनी मुश्किल है. If you are a Friends fan, just imagine the awkwardness that Ross and Mike shares. And if you share that level of awkwardness with your partner, I mean, it's not all about the physical aspect of it. It's not all about going to the dates and taking selfies and being all about that superficial stuff. आपको उससे बात करनी आनी चाहिए. I feel like with your significant other, you should be feeling the most comfortable with your significant other to have conversations, whether they are difficult, whether they are funny, whether they are awkward, whether they are angry, whatever it is, whether they are just mundane, routine, everyday conversations. Whatever conversations, they should be free flowing. And if you feel like, either you have to give a lot of effort or that person has to put in a lot of effort, or the other person is not even trying, it's just unilateral effort, one way street, या फिर आप लोग इतने हद इनकम्पैटिबल हो कि आप दोनों की बात हो ही नहीं पा रही है एफर्ट डालने के बाद भी, ऐसे रिलेशनशिप में क्यों रहना यार. कम से कम बात तो करते आनी चाहिए दोनों को एक साथ. बात करने में एक रिलेशनशिप में मजा आना चाहिए, ऐसा लगना चाहिए कि बातें खत्म ही ना हो. So forced and awkward conversations are a major red flag that you should run away from. All right. Number 10. Okay. I'm sorry if I'm calling some people out, but if you are in constant fear of losing them or losing the relationship, that's not worth it. If you feel like मैं ऐसे पकड़ के रखूंगी उनको तो वो नहीं जाएंगे, नहीं, छोड़ दो. And do you really want to be with someone who you really have to be paranoid about 24/7? That's that kind of scenario. You should never, never, ever put yourself in that kind of scenario. That's extremely harmful. I will commit to a person who will give me 100% full on commitment, who is a stand up guy or a stand up girl, not someone that I have to run behind and I'm like, oh my god, वो उससे बात कर रहा है, कहीं कुछ हो तो नहीं रहा, ये इसने इसकी सोशल मीडिया पे पिक्चर लाइक की, ये इसे ऐसा तो नहीं लगता है कि वो मुझसे ज्यादा सुंदर है. What you're doing in this scenario is you're taking care of that person's side of commitment, because you know कि उनकी तरफ से genuine commitment नहीं है. That's why you're doing all that. Your gut tells you all the time. आपको आपको पता लग जाता है कि आपका natural behavior है to get paranoid as soon as you see them talking to someone else. And it's only because you can't trust them. It's only because there are holes in that relationship. It's only because there are holes in that commitment. You know the commitment that you have gotten from them is not foolproof. I hope this video was helpful for you. And yeah, I hope you really like this video. I hope you watched this video with a cup of tea or coffee and you enjoyed this video throughout. I had a lot of fun making this video and chatting throughout this video. So yeah, please like, share and subscribe if you like what I do here. And I'll see you guys in my next one.